हम लोगों का in case of your particular protista is diatom. Diatom is also known as golden algae. We have certain groups in diatoms which is called desmids. They are also known as the pearl of sea. So there are different names which are used for diatoms. Now, if we are talking about diatoms, the cell wall is made up of cellulose plus silica particle. Okay, they are made up of cellulose and silica particle. So that's why diatoms is also called jewel of plant kingdom. Now, if you are looking at the cell wall, the presence of silica, silica makes the cell wall indestructible. So it usually accumulate at seabed after the atom's death. Okay, and form diatomaceous earth. This diatomaceous earth is also known as किसेलगुल. इसको हम लोग और एक किस नाम से जानते हैं? किसेरगुल नाम से जानते हैं सर. Now talking about the diatomaceous earth perform many functions. Like this diatomaceous earth can be utilized in functions like your making soundproof rooms, making insulators, making filters for brewing industries especially. Then they can also be used for polishing of metals. Even it is used for toothpaste. Okay, so it is having a wide variety of uses in case of your diatoms. Now, if we are talking about this diatom cell wall, what do we say is the cell wall is also known as इसको क्या बोलेंगे सर? तो it is also known as your particular frustal. Okay, इसको हम लोग एक और नाम क्या देते हैं? frustal नाम देते हैं. Now frustal shows soap box like appearance. ठीक है, ये हमको क्या दिखाता है? सोप बॉक्स लाइक अपीयरेंस दिखाता है सर. लिख लीजिए इतना. सो इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द स्ट्रक्चर, सो दिस विल बी योर न्यूक्लियस, दिस विल बी योर एपिथिका, दिस विल बी योर hypotheca. So this is called your soap box like appearance. Now if we are talking about this particular group of organism, the next thing which we're gonna see here is the stored food material. Now if we are talking about the stored food material, what we have? We have chrysolaminarian. Okay, we have leucosin, and we have the fats, which are stored food matter. So if we are talking about next thing, this food material will be obviously due to the photosynthesis. So photosynthesis will be performed by pigments. So if I am talking about pigments, they have chlorophyll A, chlorophyll C, we have xanthophyll, which will be present here, sir. Okay, now these are those group of organisms which are present in abundance. Their number is very much high, sir. So that's why what we see, they are very much high in number in C. They are also performing photosynthesis. So they are also known as the chief producer of ocean. Okay, so they are also known as the chief producer of your oceans. Now talking about this particular group of organism, there is no flagella present. So they are basically immotile in nature or non-motile in nature. Obviously they will be moving out by floating in the particular sea. Now when we were talking about the asexual reproduction, so this asexual reproduction basically happens by binary fission. And during this binary fission, there is one thing which is a bit different from other cells which are going under binary fission, that one cell always form smaller. So each time it undergo binary fission, the cell will get smaller. Okay, now let us give you an example of this one. For example, just imagine the size of the epitheca is 10 and size of this one is 12. Now what happens whenever the particular binary fission takes place, both of them will start acting as your hypotheca. Means this epitheca will start acting as hypotheca. So there will be a cell which will be of 10-12 size, the same way. Another will be of 10-8 size. Why? Because this will be acting as hypotheca now. Now when this cell will be dividing, you will get a 10-8 size, another you will get 8-6 size. Because again the same theory, this will start acting as a hypotheca. Now when it will divide, you will get a cell with 6-8 size, but you will also get a cell with 6-4 size. Now this will divide, you will get 6-4 size and you will get 4-2 size. So what is happening every time during binary fission, we are seeing there is a decrease in the size of the cell. And the reason of this is because epitheca of parent act as hypotheca. But what do we see? If the size will go on decreasing, what will be the problem? The size of the cell will be very much small and the organism will die. So these cells undergo sexual reproduction. Okay, so these cells undergo sexual reproduction and form, you can go a bit up क्योंकि पहला लाइन लिखा हुआ है हम लोगों का, बाद में नीचे कर दूंगा, and form oxospore. Okay, this oxospore at this moment have no cell wall. This is basically a zygote. Now this spore regain the size. Okay, it will regain the normal size of a diatom and then form the cell wall. And then form cell wall. So it will be very simple. Two cells, they will form gametes. For example, this is gamete. These are two diatoms which we have. They form gametes. They will form a zygote. This zygote is also called oxospore, which will regain the size and then form the cell wall. That's why this spore is also known as rejuvenescent spore or rejuvenile spore. ओके, क्लियर है बाबू इतना? सो दिस इज योर पार्टिकुलर डायटम्स. इज इट क्लियर?
यस सर.
ओके, इतना लिख लीजिए. यूग्लिना हमारा लास्ट ग्रुप है जो फोटोसिंथेटिक है इन केस ऑफ प्रोटिस्टा. यहाँ पर सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है इसका पिगमेंट, क्योंकि अगर आप इसका पिगमेंट देखें तो इट इज क्लोरोफिल ए एंड क्लोरोफिल बी, जो एग्जैक्टली पिगमेंट है सेम एज हायर प्लांट. तो ये जो पिगमेंट है वो हम लोगों का हायर प्लांट के जैसा देखने को मिलता है. तो इट इज सेम एज योर हायर प्लांट, इट इज ऑल्सो सेम एज योर ग्रीन एल्गी. सो ग्रीन एल्गी में भी यही पिगमेंट हम लोगों को देखने को मिलेगा. नाउ टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस पार्टिकुलर ग्रुप, व्हाट डू वी सी हियर इज द सेल वॉल is absent here. Okay, so there will be no presence of the cell wall in this particular group, but they have a protein covering called pellicle. तो इनमें हम लोग को क्या देखने को मिलता है? एक प्रोटीन कवरिंग देखने को मिलता है जिसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? पेलिकल बोलते हैं. Now talking about the next thing, we have this particular group of organism are present in fresh water, lakes. अभी तक जो हम लोगों ने देखा वो मोस्टली मैराइन थे. यहाँ पर ज़्यादातर ऑर्गेनिज्म जो है वो फ्रेश वाटर में देखने को मिलेंगे. They will be found in ponds. Okay. Now कुछ ऐसे भी हैं जो हम लोगों को क्या मिलते हैं? डैम्प सॉइल्स में मिलते हैं. एंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट ब्रैकिश वाटर. ब्रैकिश वाटर क्या होता है पता है? प्लेस वेयर सी एंड रिवर मीट्स. ओके, ये ऐसा प्लेस है जहां सी और रिवर मिलेगा हम लोगों को देखने को. नाउ टॉकिंग अबाउट द पार्टिकुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म, सो इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ ऑक्सीजन, इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ सनलाइट, it act as photosynthetic one. In absence of sunlight, it act saprophytic. So what do we say here is, we say this particular group shows a mixotropic न्यूट्रिशन. क्लियर है बाबू? किस टाइप का न्यूट्रिशन दिखाएगा ये? मिक्सोट्रॉपिक न्यूट्रिशन दिखाएगा. नाउ इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द स्टोर्ड फूड मटेरियल, व्हाट डू वी सी? द स्टोर्ड फूड मटेरियल आउट हियर इज paramylum, myllum, myelum bodies and fats. This is again a type of carbohydrates. ठीक है, इतना लिखिए. If we are talking about this particular group of organism, what we see is they have a pigment called astaxanthin. Okay, this pigment is present in eye spot. Now what does astaxanthin do? It accepts your sunlight and guide euglena to move towards sunlight. Okay, it will guide your euglena to move towards sunlight so that it can perform photosynthesis again. So that is the function of eye spot or astaxanthin. Now talking about the flagella, as the name came, so we have two flagella here. So there will be presence of two flagella which are present here. One is functional, another is non-functional. So one is non-functional. Okay, if we are talking about the next thing, we'll see there is something called contractile vacuole. Contractile vacuole. Now this contractile vacuole help the particular euglena to regulate osmotic pressure. Osmoregulation. Now the next thing which is very important, sir, they divide by longitudinal binary fission. And the most important thing, we do not see sexual reproduction here. So no sexual reproduction. Okay, this is